really cool vintage lock. So this is a WEISER deadbolt. I'm not exactly sure when this is from, but before I show you the lock, I do have the box, original box, made in Canada, because WEISER lock is a Canadian company. That's the only reason why I was able to get this, because I am in Canada. So I'll show you guys some really nice things and what's inside of the package. So you get a dust box, and I'll show you how that works later. Then you see all what this is. They use paper. Now this is for the thin door gaskets, which I will show you guys, or this is for the other stuff later. Now, I'm going to show you guys this. They don't really do this anymore, you know. These are thin door gaskets. You see how beautiful they are? These are actually copper. These were completely brass. And the weight of them is quite significant. Let's see. You also get instructions on how you install this. It's a D4000 series. You see, you get all the installation instructions, and I'm just gonna open this up and just show you. I think it should have a date somewhere here, but it doesn't have a date anywhere, actually. Just realized. But we're so proud that it's made in Canada, which is my country, that they even wrote printed in Canada, which is nice. So you get installation instructions, really nice. Okay, let's see, you get 2 screws, which are for the bolt. See, they're still in their original packaging, never opened it. So these, now I'll show you how this works. The longer screws, these screws are for the strike plate, but this is for the high security strike plate. This is your strike plate. Now the longer screws, the way it works is that it'll go into the larger holes, and because they're 3 inches long, they will go through the door frame and into the door studs. And with that screw inside the door studs, the door will be really hard to kick in. And with the dust box behind it, actually, what will happen is that it'll look really nice, and it'll prevent dust or anything from trying to get into the door and rot the frame out. Okay, so moving on. Let's see. We got the 2 screws, which are actually for installing the lock. Don't really know why I have these, because I already put the lock together. So anyhow, I'm just gonna put all the stuff back in here, and then see you in the next section of the video, where I will be discussing the lock. I'll be demonstrating the lock. Now, I'll be doing a comparison with the actual newer WEISER lock. This is the WEISER lock Smart Key. Now, these are really junky, honestly. I'll compare these locks, actually. Now, what are some differences? Now, the first thing is, this cylinder, pretty much this entire lock is made of brass. This cylinder, if you see through here, this was actually part of this really long brass cylinder, and this was like really just actually ground out, and it was, you know, it is a big piece of brass. Okay, the collar is also a really big piece of brass. Like I showed you, the thin door gaskets, they were made of brass. This collar was also made of brass. You know, everything here is made with brass, so you can tell the difference between, you know, locks today and locks before. So this lock was from before the 1970s or 1980s. This lock is what we get from present day. But you'll notice is this is not brass. This is a hard material, but it's okay, which is okay. But what we don't like is this housing is made of pot metal. This cylinder is made of pot metal. It's really junky, and the bolt is made of pot metal. Now I'll show you side by side. This lock, this is completely brass, but if you take a look at the bolt, this bolt from the older lock is much larger than the newer one. If you take a look, actually, and the older bolt was completely made of brass, whereas this newer one is made of pot metal. Now, what does this tell us? This tells us that the older lock is actually going to be much stronger. what else do we have here? This newer lock, this thing is just a lot cheaper. If I take this key, or if I take this lock, I'll show you. This is the key, by the way. I'll talk about the keys later, but if you turn the key, actually, you will feel it's a lot tighter. You hear that throw? You can hear that throw. It's a lot more responsive, as you can tell. You see this? It's a lot more responsive. So I lock it, or unlock it. See that? A lot more responsive. Okay. If I take the key for this lock, or I'll just take a thumb turn, actually, it's really loose. You'll see this? It's really loose, and there's much less resistance on the thumb turn, and it feels a lot cheaper. It's not as good. I don't really like it as much. However, one interesting thing that I found was that with the newer locks, actually, okay, so I'm actually going to talk about the keys since I wanted to. So with the newer locks, or the newer keys I should say, it's rather interesting because I'll take this key actually. This is the newer WEISER key. Surprisingly enough, it is actually made of solid brass. However, the older keys were made of really light duty aluminum. And another thing was that these keys, they had a different logo. You see that? The older logo was a little more decorative, whereas the newer one is really just a, just letter stamped on a key. So, anyhow, this was a lock. This is a double cylinder lock, by the way. I'll show you. There's the inside, and then there's the outside. And another thing that I wanted to talk about was the finish. Now, this type of finish, I'm not exactly sure what to call it. The box, let's see if it says anything. The box says outside finish 10, and these finish codes, they're no longer used. So I have no idea what the name of this finish is, but all I know is that this finish was very common in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but they're no longer in use today, so that's what's really special. And so, yeah, well, this, that was just a small comparison between the newer and the older locks from WEISER lock, and as you can tell, I really like this lock, the older locks, and they are much better quality. And so, yeah, I will pick this lock in the next section. Section of the video, I will be picking it. So what I want to show you guys is that this lock only has really just one disadvantage in terms of security, and that is that the lock is really easy to pick. And so, yeah, I'll show you. This is the key. So I'm gonna show you the key works really well. And to pick it, I'll be using a standard bobby pin tension wrench for the top of the keyway. Then I'll be using a 7 hook, which is a slightly smaller hook. And so to pick it, you just apply tension, and we're going to single pin pick it. Just basically lift the binding pin and set it. So set. And you see that popped over, and it's an open lock. So I'm going to turn this further and show you that it's picked. So these locks, they're not hard to pick, but they are, in my opinion, they are definitely collector's items, and you don't really find these very often in this condition. And so, yeah. Unfortunately, this lock, I am not going to trade it and not going to sell it. I'm a lock collector, so that's why. So I don't usually really want to give my stuff away. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, please keep your picking legal. Cheers.
When you see me coming, don't hang your head down low. Just remember, darling, that I love you so. We belong together, and everyone agrees that you are my sweetheart. You belong to me. Life is awfully sunny whenever you're around. It would not be funny, no, no, no,